Okay, so this is going to be a 10 to 15 minute video on the supply list that came bundled with this course for students that are new to visual arts or new to drawing altogether. And this is going to just be a rundown of the supplies that are required for this course. And this is the list that actually came from the University of the Fraser Valley Department. And I've been told that if you buy this kit from the UFV bookstore, then it's going to be significantly less expensive than running around to stores and collecting it all. And some stores will have some things and some stores don't. So hopefully it's going to be easiest for you if you live in BC, that you can just get it from the store or have them ship it to you. Okay, so I don't know what the options are in terms of shipping, so you'd have to contact them. Okay, first thing on the list, mesh bag 24 by 32 inches. That's not exactly what I have. I have this plastic mesh bag that came bundled with an architectural course that I was teaching. It's a bit smaller. It's still pretty good for keeping your materials and your small paper or a sketchbook. And then over the years I've made a bunch of cardboard portfolios. So I'm going to show you that. First I'm going to move this out of the way, and there you go. So to make this, you just need a really big cardboard box, because you don't want to flatten a smaller box and have like a fold right in the middle, because it won't be strong. So you want to get like an appliance box or something like that, or a large computer box. And then in this case, I've even made this whole, both sides out of one sheet, scored it along one of these seams, folded it, cut the handle out, and it is quite strong. Whereas, I mean, if you have a seam right here, then you just want to tape it really solidly with packing tape or even tucked tape from the hardware store. And the best way to secure the corners, which I haven't done yet, is to have a piece of string going through two holes, and you tie it off. Like a thicker string, like a 1/4 inch. Okay, so if you don't have a portfolio like one of these, I've collected a few over the years, but you want to have something to keep your drawings secure. If all you have is a mesh bag, which sounds like it's kind of floppy, you want to take a piece of heavy cardboard, the maximum size that you can fit within the bag, shove it in there, and that'll keep the whole thing stiff. And you could keep your finished drawings on one side, and then your unfinished, like a new paper, clean paper, on the other side, so they just don't contaminate each other. Okay, so the plywood and clips I'm going to talk about in a second. Sketchbook. I'm assuming that you're getting a hardcover book like this. This one I believe is 8 by 10, and the one that is recommended is 9 by 12. I would accept either. There's nothing wrong with working at this size. And this one is a little bit thicker, but I prefer hardbound over coil ring. Okay, newsprint pads. I have one here, and there's another one here, which newsprint and cartridge are almost they're indistinguishable, I guess you could say. The cartridge paper is a bit whiter and more durable, but these are not really for making finish works. They're for making just drawings to build your skills. And I've gone through hundreds of these pads over the years, and they've all been recycled over time. I took photos of some of the ones I liked, but they are not really for making finish work. They're not archival, which means that the paper will actually break down. So no matter how good a piece drawing you do on it, it won't last, because there's acids in the paper, and exposure to daylight will make them go yellow and brittle over time. But that's the nature of them. They're very inexpensive. unless you get them from Michaels, because Michaels is overpriced on everything. And they're just there to help you build skills. Okay, so black drawing paper, gray or earth tone Tiziano drawing paper, and so that's right there. I've got 2 sheets of the gray and 2 sheets of the brown, and mine are 20 by 26. So I don't know what are the ones that come with the kit, but you can kind of see generally the size, and they have a bit of texture on them. All right, large roll of tracing paper. I can't find mine right now. I prefer it when it comes in a pad, but yeah, tracing paper is fantastic for working in your sketchbook, and you can do more things with it than just trace drawings. So I'll get into that later. Metal pencil sharpener. I've got a plastic one and an electric one. This is from the dollar store. Cost $4, and it works amazing and runs off 6 AA batteries. Graphite pencil 6B, 8B, 9B. I have your regular school one, day-to-day, is an HB, and then I've got 4B, 5B, and EE. And all that means is that your regular HB is a medium darkness, but the higher the number in B's, going up to 9B and then jumping to EE, the darker they get. And so it's something that you just kind of can play around with and practice to see how dark they get, because a lot of times when people are starting out with drawing, they don't make the darks dark enough. Okay, Woodless Pencil 6B, 8B, or 9B. I've got this one right here. So all it is just a pencil with no wood in it. It's all graphite. And I have this other one here that is kind of a more robust one that has a giant lead that you can graphite that you can replace. And graphite crayons come in different forms. This one is a 9B, needs to be sharpened, and this one is compressed graphite stick, and these are great for doing for shading in large areas. What I recommend to sharpen any of these is a utility knife like this that you can get from the hardware store, and they are super crazy sharp, and the black blades are sharper than the silver ones. And you want to just be really safe with them, because even professionals and instructors do accidentally cut themselves with them once in a while, because they are crazy sharp. Okay. Kneaded eraser. Where did I go? Right here. Okay, I'll do a demo on that later. Box of vine charcoal right here. Very thin charcoal. Keep it in the box because it's very soft and brittle, and you can break it very easily. Black charcoal, compressed charcoal, 1 stick, but you'll probably need more of this, so you might have to go back to the store and get more. I have this whole box. Again, I don't recommend Michaels because I find them to be really overpriced. You have to use their coupons to get even a decent deal on them, because this whole box is $6.90, but I'm pretty sure they charge like 12 or 13 bucks for it. Black charcoal pencils here, and then we have sticks of Conte, black, white. Your kit comes with a gray one, but I happen to have brown. And think of this as just being charcoal that is denser, so it's harder. It doesn't break quite as easily, and you have to push harder to get. You have to press harder to get your marks. And then I've included a few other things that I think will help you, but you do not have to have. For smaller drawings in your sketchbook, if you're working on small areas, I like to have these Staedtler retractable erasers. And you can buy more eraser thingies to fit in them. This is a blending stump. I don't use it a lot, but if you ever see one, then now you'll know what it is. It's for shading. It's for moving graphite around in smaller areas, but I don't really use them. I just fill in an area with more graphite. I don't really use them. This is a China marker. I need two hands to demonstrate it, but it's kind of like a oil-based marker. It's not a marker. It's an oil-based drawing tool that kind of lays down pigment in a grease format, and it draws on almost any kind of surface. And a pill bottle can be good for keeping your charcoal, Conte, willow charcoal, which here it says vine charcoal, but willow charcoal is basically the same thing. And a pill bottle is good for keeping these materials from getting banged around and broken. So you can even stuff Kleenex in there to protect it. Roll of masking tape. This is painter's tape, which doesn't ruin drawings as badly as the beige tape. So the masking tape is a little bit safer to use on drawings because it's not less likely to peel away and destroy the paper fibers. All right, next thing, a toolkit. So also not on the list, but suggested. And it just keeps everything organized. This is an actual art kit, I'm pretty sure, but you could use a tackle box from the fishing store or Canadian Tire. And it does need to be cleaned out. This thing has at least 20 years of life in its existence, and it's just got a little bit of everything in it. See, there's more charcoal, and there's a paintbrush that I've used specifically just for moving charcoal pigment around, because I sometimes draw on large scale with charcoal powder. So this is all powdered charcoal, and I use this to move it around. So a kit like this is fantastic for keeping all your stuff organized and secure. Next thing, Workable Fixative. It's smelly, and this is for fixing a drawing, because when you draw with charcoal, it's super messy and it's going to smear on other surfaces that it contacts. So I'm going to just do a demo of how this stuff works. So I'm going to pause the camera. Okay, so now I'm outside. It is getting a little bit dark outside, but you will still be able to see what I'm doing here. Here's my can of Workable Fixative. You can only really buy these from an art supply store. They don't really sell them anywhere else. I don't think you can get them at the dollar store or the hardware store. And you want to shake it for a minute. So I've pre-shaken it. And ideally you want to wear a respirator. I happen to be outside right now, and I'm also upwind. Anyway, the wind is at my back, so it's would be blowing the fumes away. So if you don't have a respirator, then what I used to do is just hold my breath and get out of there. Spray it really fast and get out of there, and let it off gas for a couple hours. So I have this charcoal self-portrait, and like I said, charcoal is really messy. It see, you can take pigment from here and it smears around, and you don't want that to be it to contaminate other surfaces. So you get a drawing resolved to a point where you don't plan to erase any more things, and then this will set it into the paper, and it's not erasable at that point, but you can still draw on top of it. So any spray can, you want to shake it for a minute, and then you start off the surface, even strokes, about 6 or 8 inches away, even strokes, come down, back, back, back. So go past your surface on both sides. So I mean, in this case, my drawing is really only occupying most of the center, so it's not necessary to go right past. But if the drawing was coming right to the edges of the paper, then you'd want to make sure that the can passes right past the whole sheet. Okay, and it is stinky. I didn't wear my mask for this demo because then I wouldn't be able to talk, but you want to leave this outside for at least a couple hours in a place where it'll be safe before you bring it inside, because the fumes aren't really that good. Okay, so back in the studio, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the plywood and the bulldog clips and the way you have a drawing set up. The best way to have a drawing set up for figure drawing, and grab a piece of charcoal right here, or Conte, is you want to have a vertical surface. So if this is a display easel, so it's not really the best for, it's not as robust as a painting easel, but it's worked for me in the past. I think I spent maybe $60 on it. And you want to be able to stand in front of a space, in front of your workspace, and have a full range of body motion in relation to it. So you can kind of use your entire arm. So I don't know if you can see this. Maybe look in the, if you look in the reflection here, but you can stand here and have like this relationship of your entire body to the surface and be able to get closer to it and farther back, and incorporate not just your fingers and your wrist and your elbow, but also your shoulder, and have this full arm range, because that just allows you a lot more freedom to make marks that capture what you're trying to do. So so it's recommended to have a sheet of plywood, and this happens to be quite thin, 1/8, but it's actually strong enough. And there's a couple of different styles of 3-inch bulldog clips. So you only need 2, and then if you have your whole pad here, then when you're done with the drawing, you flip it up and throw it on the back. It might want to flop forward after a while, so you can put a clip on the side. But this is the best way to have a drawing set up for drawings of this scale. If you don't have an easel like this, then you can take drawings like this and pin them to a wall, and then at least you're working vertically. And after a semester, there will be all these little thumbtack holes in the wall that you have to deal with. And if you're drawing right off the surface like that, then your wall might get all charcoaly and smudgy, and that's just, I mean, you can protect it in advance with additional newsprint, so that doesn't happen, or you just have to scrub it all off after. So most of my demos will be done at my drafting table, so this is probably the only time you'll see me have this set up, but I made this so that you can see it. Most of the time I will be working at my drafting table. If you cannot work vertically, then I'm gonna have to pause this and, okay, so if you can't work vertically because you don't have an easel, or you're not planning on pinning your drawings to the wall, then you can have your plywood and your drawing clipped to it, rested against your computer workstation and against your lap, and then you can see the reference material. I've got the blackboard open here, and this is also an acceptable alternative because you are still using your whole range of arm motion. One of the only differences is it's harder to kind of back up, right? Whereas when you're standing, you can take a step back, look at it, and kind of reassess if what's working and what's not working. And it's a little trickier to do this way. Plus, because the surface is angled away from you like this, you are looking at all of this sort of distorted. You're not looking at it quite straight down. So the proportion of your drawing is a little bit distorted when you have it set up like this. You can kind of adjust that to some extent by lowering your chair and maybe raising this somehow by putting something underneath it. But just be aware that this is a less ideal setup. But we're just going to do whatever works for your situation. Okay. That concludes my video on materials. Thanks for watching.